Good evening, all of you. Grace and peace from Yahweh, who loves us as Father and Mother, Jesus, who alone is our risen, resurrected, reigning, and returning Redeemer, and the Holy Spirit, who in her purpose, presence, and power preserves us perfectly. I am excited to be here. I am grateful. Y'all have to just pardon me and excuse me in advance, because I'm about to lose my mind. I truly was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of Yahweh. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital and 1 week just recovering at home. But there's no place like the house of Yahweh God. And I am so glad that he has seen fit to have mercy on me and to restore my health. I actually, right before I came, well, about 2 hours before I arrived here, got my staples removed. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm gonna try not to do anything crazy, but I'm just gonna let you know I feel good. I feel good. And I think that as we look at Ecclesiastes, remember, I know that much. We left off at Ecclesiastes. We look at Ecclesiastes, remember that one of the main themes that keeps coming up over and over, we are given life as a gift, and we're given jobs to us as a gift from Yahweh God, and to not do anything with it is to squander the gift, is to be ungrateful for the life. And life includes activity of our limbs. Come on, somebody. Bodily function, the ability to raise my hands, the ability for my feet and my body, then I am squandering the gift when I hold it to myself. And if there's anything that I've learned, because you don't know how much I was in that hospital bed, that was the most uncomfortable thing. If you've never been in the hospital, I mean, don't wish it on you, because it's so uncomfortable that you want to do everything possible to get yourself well so that you can get up out of there. And I was grateful. I was grateful for the roof over my head. I'm thankful for the bed, but I was thankful for the meds that they came in and gave me, so that even in some semblance in there. Morgan, we need blood. Mr. Morgan, we need your vitals. Mr. Morgan, you need a liver. Well, I'm grateful to all of you, the Radical Grace Church, of you that your prayers, your messages, your visits, just thinking of me, I felt all of that. I felt all of that, and it certainly, in the pain hit, it held me up in all of those instances when it was just like anymore. And I am grateful to be back to serve you, and to serve you in this capacity, of course, so relevant and raw, our adult Bible study class, in which we've been doing a deep dive, as we always do, in the oft misunderstood, not even canonized. By that I mean it almost didn't even make it into the collection of the 66 books, the book of Ecclesiastes, written by Koheleth. Let us pray, and we will dive right into. So I'll let you call up chapter 6 as we prepare. Yahweh, open our hearts and our minds by the power of your Holy Spirit, that as these scripture is proclaimed, that we may hear with joy today. Amen. That in chapter 5, by way of a little, and I do mean brief, reminder, that he's been talking about folk in leadership who are the fact that the poor get oppressed and the ways in which the poor get oppressed. We saw that the poor can be oppressed when folk take too much. That's very key in chapter 5, and that they care about what other folk have. Chapter 6 is very similar. These themes seem to run together. In chapter 6, it starts out by talking about a man who has shown that he doesn't care about his family. And so this is the result. In chapter 6, the NIV version, because I don't have that, I didn't have that with me. So I'll open up the NIV. Okay. It says, I've seen another evil under the sun, and God gives a man wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing his heart desires. But God does not enable him to enjoy them instead. We did talk about this. Remember, I think I brought up Michael Jackson, and I brought up the fact that there's a lot of complete strangers enjoy the fruit of their labor they've earned. It says, this is meaningless, a grievous evil, and live many years. Yet, no matter how long he lives, not enjoy his prosperity, and does not, I say that a stillborn child is better. Woo, that's deep. A stillborn child, a miscarriage. It's better for to be a look at what proper burials, the Hebrew literally means. What Keheleth is saying here is this man has 100 children. I want you to think about this. And when we think, even in this society, in Western society, typically it's the children, the parent, who plan their final resting place, who make the final arrangement, the homegoing service, and everything that happens. The children generally are in charge of that. This man, according to Keheleth, has 100 children. I want you to think about this. Gives him a proper burial. Children, none of them loved father enough to, you're better off having been a miscarriage. Nothing worse, he says. There's nothing that is more grievous and more evil than to not receive proper due in your returning, in your going back, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. That your children honor that. This is the implication. We always got to look at the why. Well, this is why this gift of family, who worked so hard, wealth, that he forgot about his children. There was a movie in the 90s. Some of it was Liar, Liar. Liar, he's a lawyer, successful trial lawyer. And as you know, one of my favorite shows is Suits. I've talked about it, that lawyers are gone from home a lot, especially to be super successful, because cases to find precedents, time in libraries. It requires spending a lot of time alone, running those arguments by colleagues. Being a successful lawyer takes time. And in this, the premise of Liar, Liar, is a little boy, his son, spent so much time being a good lawyer that it has cost him his wife. He got divorced from his wife, of their son, because he would have time where he was awarded visit and play with his son. And one of the very first scenes that his son is sitting out on the stoop with a baseball glove. And his mom comes out and says, here. So he sits there looking at this baseball glove. And Jim Carrey's character never shows up. Never shows up even after the fact. Doesn't show up to spend time with his son. You can imagine that is developing in this young man's mind and his heart. This is not his countenance. He may be. This is not setting yourself up to get a proper burial. It's not. To me, while you were alive, why should I pay attention to you when you dead? This becomes something that we need because once again, where are our values is the question that Keheleth wants us to know. Instead of sharing your wealth, because we looked at, again, 3-4 weeks ago, Keheleth, once you have children, the only joy in life is to be able to provide for your children. The only joy you get out of work is that you know you have, and it won't just go to waste. So if he's choosing not to spend time with his children, then they said, and returned the favor and said, well, we're not going to offer you the most respectful thing. You have to understand that, especially when we talk about Jewish heritage, a Jew gets a tattoo, they can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. That's how serious this is. That's how serious it is at this point, that grave site. That means he's truly messed over his family or his heritage. That's a big deal. So this is not pettiness. This is part of their culture. This is part of, in terms of the context of what's going on, and it helps us to understand why he says this is evil under the sun. And it's that there's no have to ignore my family. It's never that deep. Something interesting that I discovered, go to Exodus 4. This will come up again in a sermon because I'm working on it, but I just want you to see something. Because, and I think it's going to mess you up too. Exodus 4. Then Moshe went back to, I'm sorry, let me start up. Well, I'll pick it up at verse 18, but before I do that, let me give you a little context so you can appreciate. Yahweh appears to Moses the first time at the bush that appears to be burning and calls him to go to Pharaoh to let his people go so they can go worship him. Yahweh ends up calling Moshe to do that. The first 4 times, as we so commonly see, Moses has excuses, and Moses I can't do it, I'm not going to do it. By the 5th time, he has demonstrated, or Yahweh has demonstrated for him that, hey, I'm the one that's behind it. Throw your staff down. Watch that happen. Put your arm in your cloak. Pull it out. What do you notice about your hand? Yeah, I did that. I'm in charge. You ain't got to worry about a thing. You are the vessel. You're the instrument. Just be where I told you through you. That's a word for somebody. And so finally, Moses relents. And so here's what he does. He goes to his father-in-law, Jethro, to ask permission for him to pack up Jethro's daughter, Moses' wife. Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, let me go back to my own people, and I wish you well. Now, Yahweh men who wanted to kill you are dead. You got to kind of remember, again, back at the beginning of who masquerades as an Egyptian. In fact, he is an Egyptian in terms of the way he was raised, but he kills an Egyptian before he ends up becoming a fugitive. Want him killed, so he flees for his life. Yahweh says, you can go back. Everybody who wanted you dead who wanted to kill you is dead. So Moses took his wife and his sons, put them on a donkey, and started back to Egypt. Of God in his hand, the same staff that earlier he threw down, and Yahweh turned into a snake. Yahweh said to Moses, when you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders I have given you the power to do, but not let the people go. Then say to Pharaoh, this is what Yahweh says, Israel is my firstborn son, and I told you, let my son go, so he may worship me. But you refuse to let him go, so I will kill your firstborn son. At a lodging place on the way, Yahweh met Moses to kill him. Said in Exodus 30, to speak with Yahweh translates as mouth to mouth. We would say face to face. One, remember, who can get closer without suffering severe consequences. Moshe is the only one who can be that close to the presence relationship with him. And yet, at a lodging place on the way, Yahweh killed him. Hold up. Wait a minute. You called me, wanted me, you equipped me, you would be with me, and that I just need to let myself be used. I can imagine Moses. What have I done to deserve this? Why would you be trying to kill me? And you want to know, because that doesn't sound right. Why would he be, why are you going to try to kill Moses, Yahweh? He's intimate with you. Oh, he's not perfect. No man is. But you love him. You chose him. Why would you try to kill Moses? Let me help you understand why he wants to kill Moses. Look at verse 25. But Zipporah is Moses' wife, took a flint knife, skin, circumcision, and touched Moses' feet with it. Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me, she said. So Yah alone. It seems that the attempt to kill Moses, the desire to kill Moses, has to do with the fact that Moses' sons are not circumcised. Okay, why is that a big deal? Go back to Genesis. Yahweh tells Abraham that the sign of being in the covenant family of Abraham is that the boys get circumcised on the 8th day. That's the sign. That's the physical sign that they belong in the covenant family. The other thing that has to happen is of the covenant must have the blood of a Israelite mother. So it's two things. In order to be in the covenantal family, a boy must be circumcised by his 8th day, have the blood of a Israelite mother. Zipporah is not Israelite. She's not Israelite, but she gets, we can talk about that a little bit later. But there's something else that happens. The boys haven't been circumcised yet. Now, Bible readers understand that once Moses gets to Egypt, Yahweh said it, born of everybody who's not in later, and he says, I'm post. My angel will see the blood of the lamb as the physical sign that is a member of the covenantal family under that roof and won't kill the first, won't stop me right there. Provision was, and this is for somebody, I need to point this out, the law said, and yes, even the law, the boy must be circumcised by his 8th day of an Israelite woman. But let me point this out, is not as legalistic as we want him to be. Yahweh is not as dogmatic as we want him to be. So maybe, just maybe, that is a sign that the church needs to not be as dogmatic. Maybe, just maybe, it's not black and white. Maybe, just maybe, the provision is made that there's I'll have mercy on those who may not have been circumcised and who may not have the blood of an Israelite woman, because maybe, just maybe, I love them. Ooh, so maybe, just maybe, even when they do X, Y, and Z, and I've said, I have blood on a post that I see that causes me on the ones who didn't do what I asked them to better, because I'm not a God that takes pleasure in taking lives, because I'm a God of another chance. Oh, there's always another way. You better be thankful. You better be praising Yahweh God that there is always another way, so that when I don't make it according to the law, come on, Paul, come on, Romans deep dive, for me to be justified, there's another way for me to be approved in his sight. And here what I was getting to, so that I can get back to what I was getting to in the first place. All goes together. Yahweh wanted to kill Moses because Moses was in violation of the law. This is how he's in violation of the law. He has not had his, up to this point, he hasn't had his son circumcised. Why does Yahweh want to kill him now? Good question. Because he has the mission to do ministry. This is a curve in the church. Yes, we serve in the church, but once again, your family is important. You are not to sacrifice even for ministry. Uh-oh. I don't know what pastor needed to hear that. I don't know what member at large that is engaged in different ministries in the church needed to hear that, but you are not family for ministry. And that's what upset Yahweh here. What upset Yahweh is putting ministry, no, if I don't get my house right, I ain't got no business trying to get nobody else's house right. Yahweh, Moses, and his wife gets it. Ain't it something how oftentimes, again, we talked about how Yahweh and Moses, the one that doesn't have an intimate relationship with Yahweh, that gets it. It's 4 years, can quote all 4 verses from Amazing Grace, can quote verses back and forth in the Bible and give you page numbers and give you catechisms and tell you where things are found in certain confessions. It's the ones that have been outside that can truly see when Yahweh is at work. It's interesting that the eyes of tender, the one that might be just trying Yahweh out for the first time, the one who doesn't have a relationship as the every Sunday Bible-toting church goer, seems to have a better understanding of what he's doing. So Ecclesiastes 6:3 was setting himself up. If he weren't careful, would be killed anyway, because there was no sign. Because he sacrificed, then we are to believe that his sons probably weren't going to give him a proper burial. Really? You all this time? Because they're older than 8 months. They're older than 8 months at this point. All this time, you knew we were supposed to be circumcised in order to save our lives, and you waited until you had your assignment to endanger us and put us in danger and sacrifice us so that for the sake of you doing ministry? No. Ecclesiastes 6, all of the story. The family unit is a gift given to us from Yahweh. He operates. How else? We describe the Trinity, see the Trinity revealed in itself and Holy Spirit. But Father and a Son, why aren't they best friends? Why does he present himself as highly prizes and values, and anything we do that squanders the family is not? He says it's better to be stillborn. Verse 4, it comes without meaning, it departs in darkness, and in darkness you're stillborn, you're instantly forgotten about. So there's no and you know that's not true. The child was do give a proper burial to a miscarriage. If I think stillborn, to my understanding, is an actual, the child is fully formed. I don't know, but it's different if it's a miscarriage. I believe the word we're looking for here is miscarriage, because there's no proper burial for the thing, or about the child that doesn't make it to see light. Even if he lives 1,000 years twice over, but fails to, do not all go to the same place? Yes, all of us end up in the exact same place. It's a situation. Leaves here in the fence. Keheleth, remember, in Jewish society, he has an he believes in a possibility. He has no idea what that looks like, and that's not what they're taught. Sheol. Sheol means the underground. That's where you die. There's no concept of resurrection in his mind. He says, remember back in curiosity given to us to search the scriptures and to search what's next. So he does understand that's game over. That there's a sequel coming. He just has no idea what it's going to be. And remember, Ecclesiastes is about what we experience, what we can have faith in necessarily. But it's coming here in a little bit. That his appetite's never satisfied. Poor man gained by knowing how to conduct himself before others. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. The idea of never getting enough means work, because things are constantly getting on now. I don't have an iPhone, but are they on like number 30 or something? And they're going to keep coming out with them. As long as they keep, we're always going to chase better. Until we realize that when I get a hold of the best, God, and doing things Yahweh's way. When we say Yahweh is not physical, I can't grab, okay? So I'm following what he wants from me. I'm valuing the family that he's given to me. I'm valuing my time and energy into everything that I do while I have the ability to do. Rolling over and playing dead and resigning to fatalistic thoughts that everything is a season and I just got to go with that. No, not the expectation. Yahweh has put fight in us to do things while we are here and have the ability to do them. So, we look at, again, labor. Labor has been a common theme. And satisfying Greek philosophy, the observation that satisfying appetites does not bring. Socrates and Plato argued against the idea that happiness came from the fulfillment of desires or appetite. If this were true, the happiest man would actually be a leper, because he continuously has the pleasure of fulfilling an itch. That's crazy. So when it comes to seeking happiness from fulfilling desires, the wise man does not have an advantage over the fool, because neither of them can find happiness through seeking pleasure. Back to chapters 1 and 2, because chapters 1 and 2 are saying the same thing. That's where we first saw chasing the wind, and where we first saw the idea of the eyes always wanting more than what they can hear. So nor does the poor man have an advantage because he knows how to walk before the living. The phrase walk before living refers to having street smarts. Because folk that we would say are poor and impoverished, they know how to get by. We love poor folk. Poor folk know how to hustle. And this is why what was interesting about the pandemic was we saw folk who have struggled, who have had to move from the bottom to the top, were actually all right, because they knew how to figure stuff out to stay where they were or to get higher. Folk that had only been high and lost so much lost their minds because they ain't know how to hustle. And I've said this before, the worst thing, to quote Koheleth, a grievous evil under the sun is when church folk, Christians, forget something. No, don't stop working. Don't stop expending energy. There's always more for us to do while we're here to be able to do it. Solomon adds that what the eye sees is better than what the soul desires. So another translation would say it this way: enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. That sounds like it came straight from the Gospel of Shania Twain. It's not having, what does she say? It's not wanting what you don't have, it's wanting what you got. I'm trying to remember, whatever, soak up the sun, look up the lyrics. She says something to that effect. I'm going to say it again. Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Because, Jesus will say this later, if you're faithful over a few things, I'll make you a ruler over many. But you need to prove to me that you can handle what I've given you. You need to prove to me that you know how to say thank you for what I've given you. My dad used to sing a song, said, thank you makes room for more. And it's not about getting stuff. Let's be clear. I've said that 1,000 times. We're not here to get stuff. Because again, we're talking about this. Be happy with what you got. Be thankful with what you got. Even to the point, and I said it and I meant it. Everything I'm able to do, lifting my hand this high, I am so thankful for that. Because there was a time when that was painful to me. And it was only a couple of days ago. You don't know because you weren't there. So when I lose my mind, it's because I'm so glad about what I've got. And when you focus on what you have, you can't help but get a heart of thanksgiving. You can't help but put yourself in a situation you just know I got to give him glory. For Yahweh on my side, I don't know where I would be right now. Enjoy what you have. While you've got it, make use of it. It may not always be there, but while you've got it, you live to satisfy appetites. Your appetite becomes your master. And the key to happiness is to discover content. Learned how to be content. He says he wasn't talking about being able to win contests. He wasn't talking about being able to fall in love or anything, all that other stuff. Through Christ, he said, I've learned to be content, whether I have money or I have to be content with anything that I see that I've got. I'm going to find a way to make use of whatever I. Mama is an amazing woman. You've heard her preach. And she's amazing because she's my mama. Mama can do something. Bless her heart. I need to try to figure out how to do this. Mom on her mind. Open up cupboards, open up the refrigerator, pull stuff out, throw it in some pots and some pans, mix, uses what she's got. And it tastes good. Constantly go to the refrigerator. I go to the cupboard and I have an idea and I say, I really want to make such and such a thing, but I can't make such and such a thing. Now, there's a lot of stuff I can make with what I got, but I don't think like that. Partially because when it comes to cooking, I don't have no hustle. I'm gonna admit that. When it comes to cooking, I don't have no hustle. For the people that are around you, and you don't hang out with the ones you got. Yes, I am. I'm talking about you. It's folk that leave churches, because I done already opened up the can. I'm going to a different church because they got this. Didn't exhaust in years that you were at before you left. You think you're going to be faithful in another church? I'm going to stop. I'm going to get neat. But I know I'm right about it. Use what you got while you got it. So, gaining something we don't have. How do you, as part of it, end up with something called buyers? You can never be happy until you learn to make of the stuff that's around you, because happiness comes from within. If you consistently base your happiness on stuff that you can't see, that you don't have, that's outside, that may or may not come to you, your happiness is always in flux. But when my happiness is based on the inside, and I'm able to have it come up from the inside, there ought to be something that myself right here, because the other side is futility and striving after wind, because you can't capture wind. It's crazy to try to capture wind. It's going to get out. So be grateful for where you are, what you have, that you have been granted as a gift. All right, I got a few more minutes. That essentially, this is going to be a huge shift in understanding, a huge shift in the theme, if you will. In chapter 6, starts to change what he's been talking about. Striving after wind, chasing wind, futility of the wind. The time we heard that was when I just said it, Ecclesiastes 6:9. He's not going to use that phrase anymore. He won't use that idiom. Toiling and labor, talk about that anymore. He says emphasis on work and labor with complete knowledge that we have. That we, as humanity, to know certain things, but we know nothing about the future. Knowledge of what I know in the present versus knowledge out, and I can get upset, not happen, that may or may not happen, or I can focus in on my present. You've got friends that sometimes they're a killjoy to talk to, because everything, friends, that sometimes they're a killjoy to talk to, because everything is what if, and what if it doesn't, and what's going on right now. Is there anything that you can be thankful about, that you can be joyful about right now? When we have incomplete knowledge, and to the point where that doesn't bother us anymore. And when we don't have complete knowledge, this is where the sovereignty, the omnipotence, or all power, and the track record of Yahweh God steps. Verse 10. Whatever exists has already been named, and has been known. No man can contend with one who is stronger than he, Yahweh. And how does that profit anyone? For who knows what is good for man in life during the few passes through like a shadow? Who can tell him what will happen? Who can tell you what's going to happen to your fortune when you pass away? Who can tell you? Who can tell you whether or not people are going to get along? Who can tell you what your legacy will be? Concern. I've seen this question. If people ask this question next week, what would you do? I hate that question. I hate that question. Knew you were going to die next week, what would you do with your last remaining? Personally, time I got left. Because that's where worry starts to set in. I haven't done enough of it, and I move away from where I am. The point is, I got a life to live. I got a life to live right now, but I do believe in this, because if I tells us that there is a time appointed to every man and woman for death, and no man knows the day nor the hour in which he's coming back collectively. It could be coming back individually. Since none of us know when that's happening, every day like it's my last. I ought to live every day with thanksgiving in my every day, saying I love you to everyone that means something to me and that I don't know well, and I'm supposed to treat the immigrants with more respect than I give to myself. Since I know that tomorrow is not promised, that's where I am right now. And where does my rejoicing come from? That I'm about to leave the earth. I don't have to deal with this scar that I had, that I won't have to deal with scar tissue building up that could still affect down in the road. I'm not going to worry about that. That's not what I'm called to worry about. Why don't I not worry about that? Because I know who it is that's stronger than I am. I know who it is who can tell me about myself. I know who it is who hair on my head, even the ones that I ain't even got left. I know who it is that woke me, that's going to close my eyes tonight. I know who it is that is going to see to it for as long as he desires, that I have everything that I need in order to live in godliness. I don't have to worry because I got a God. I got a God. And any and every word, he says, he cannot dispute takif. Takif refers to, this is the only time it's used in scripture, in authority of the mighty one, that nobody else can judge me. Nobody else, mama in. So I don't have to care. I don't have to love what you say and don't say about me. I don't have to seek your opinion. It is who knows me and who just can try because of who I know. No matter what holds, I don't have to know what the future holds because I know who is in control of the future. There's some folk, I've said this analogy before. I don't care now if we go into the fourth quarter and the Lions are down. If you're watching and you're a Dallas fan, ha, 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 ha. Because I know Jared Goff is going out there. Jared Goff has receipts. Jared Goff has a quarterback this season. I don't care who is. I don't know. Even if he's a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, Patrick Mahomes, I'm looking at you yet. So I'm not putting my trust in you. Ain't but one quarterback who's done that. And when about the future, but I do know that ain't but one God who has been tempted on every side the way that I have. Ain't but one God who has defeated time and space by overcoming the enemy of death. Ain't but one God who I am, because he's been there and done that and got the t-shirt. Here's somebody. When you serve a God like that, when a God like that is on your side, when you ally yourself with Yahweh, worry is not a thing, but rejoice what I turn to. Know him. I rejoice in my prayer. That's even better. He loves me so much, and he cares for me in a way I don't know what it's gonna look like. I don't know where the check is coming from. I don't know who's gonna give me a hug when I'm depressed. I don't know who's in my right mind, but I know he's got for me. And that's a source of my. And so, if we've got anything from chapter 6, it's the understanding of family. We don't squander family for the sake of accumulating wealth or accumulating fame. We also must make sure that things that we don't have, but enjoying things that we do. And in the process, when we get to a point where there are questions about, there's no need to worry. I know it's going to be all right. I've got the God who has the receipts, who is proven in control. I'm so grateful to be back. This was fun, and I made it down for a minute. So I look forward to seeing you, all of you, Sunday morning. We have our Foundations and Spiritual Transformation at 9 o'clock, our morning worship celebration at 10. We look forward to seeing you here at 600 Lafayette Avenue Northeast. Next time, may you lift each other in prayer and lift Yahweh in praise. Amen.